that we have these such powerful vaccines. Worldwide now, we're still losing 1.5 million children each year. About 20% of those deaths are here. So in India.
20% of that is in India.
1.5 million. And these are deaths from vaccines that we have available. We don't need new vaccines. These are vaccines that are already available.
So a lot of myths and realities float around vaccines. One of them being, are we pushing vaccines down the throat of the people when there can be a chance of natural immunity to the diseases? What is your take on that?
I think to take this question in perspective, let's go back to the time when vaccines were not available. If you get measles and you recover, you're 100% protected after that. So that's a good thing. But you remember how many millions of children were dying from measles. Natural immunity will protect some children because they get mild disease. But there's no guarantee your child is going to get a mild disease. A disease like measles can be lethal. So I think this question of companies using their influence is a real question, because any powerful company tries to use that. It is up to the scientific community, the recommending body. That's why we have what's called the National Technical Advisory Group, who, as far as I know, none of them are really connected with the industry. But ultimately, this was the same question that came up when formula companies came up. Why should they use just breast milk? Why should we be using formula? There's no question breast milk is the best thing. But there are situations once the child is weaned from breast. If you don't have the proper formula, even in the US, before these formula companies were available, we had so many deaths from people mixing powdered formulas in different ways, not having the right nutritional content. It's up to us as the scientific community and the regulating bodies to put rules in place so that it protects the community against these undue influences. I think the world would be a lot worse today if we didn't have vaccines, if we didn't have these companies. I think there are occasional instances around the world, it's happening, where companies have used, they've overclaimed their claim is way beyond what the vaccine should have. The claim, what the vaccine actually does. I think those kinds of things have to be stopped. There have been cases where they have influenced policymakers at very high places. So when those things have happened, I think we need to identify them and stop them. The thing that makes me very upset, as I said in the lecture, is every child, most of the children of the people who have enough wealth, like my family, your family, all of our children and grandchildren receive the vaccine. Which is, I think, is fine. They should receive the vaccine. But those same people, when they make decisions for the poor people, they say, no, that's too expensive, we won't use it. To me, that's hypocrisy.
Dichotomy.
It's real hypocrisy. If it's good for your child, why is it not good for the poor child? You start using all these arguments about the companies are making money and therefore we should not allow this. In that case, don't give it to your child also.
So there are a lot of still obstacles in the path of vaccination, one being religion.
Yes.
As we know that although India has been declared polio free, but there are pockets of India which is still resistant to polio vaccines due to some religious contour that is there to it. So how is it, how difficult or how challenging it is to get the vaccinations to those children who are from particular community, and that community is like resistant for whatever reasons?
I think there will always be some small groups. Like India, in the US, we have the Amish community. It's a very traditional group. They actually they don't believe in electricity. They use everything natural. They've been a source of a transmission of a lot of diseases. Some of them don't even take polio vaccine. It's been a major problem. They don't take measles vaccine. So you're going to have those pockets in every country. And those are tough to deal with. And ultimately, they were able to convince them, look, you're not only hurting your children, you're hurting the rest of the country. But there will always be these tough pockets. Now the other problem we are facing in the US is it's actually not the uneducated people. Because there's so much of information about anti-vaccine groups putting information on the internet. The highest refusal rate is actually the people who have got PhDs, who are now reading all these things, who are not doctors, but because they feel they're intellectual, they know, and they start reading all this, they get scared, and many of them don't vaccinate their children, and we're beginning to see resurgence of disease in that population too.
Your final parting statement, especially with the research institutes who are doing a lot of research with John Hopkins University, from pediatrics and non-pediatrics, both point of view.
I must tell people,
what is the future of vaccination?
Well, I think vaccination is, we now have a lot of molecular techniques and DNA techniques. Ultimately, we cannot keep increasing the number of new antigens that we introduce. Already children are getting like 5 doses, 5 different vaccines in one sitting. We have to have more combination vaccines. In 1980, there was a WHO statement which people have actually forgotten. They said the ultimate goal of WHO vaccination program is to have a single dose vaccine at birth which will prevent against all diseases. Now, I think that's probably at least 200 years away, but
It was in 80s it had said.
Yeah, there was a statement made that is an ideal vaccine. Now, that will take a very long time, but we can get closer to that by maybe giving 2 or 3 or 4 vaccines right at the birth. Maybe you will prevent 20 diseases. So I think we need to figure out a way of combining these different vaccines. It's also a very big stress on the health system when you have to maintain cold chain for 5 to 6 different vaccines, and you need to have capacity, refrigerator capacity. It really becomes a nightmare.